Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game Tellstones King's Gambit. This was sent to me by Riot Games, and is designed by Chris Cantrell. As you can see, this is a very nice box. It opens up and has some very nice components inside. Tellstones King's Gambit is played with a set of 7 stones, each inscribed with a unique symbol. The first player to score 3 points wins the game. Let me show you how to play. So like I said, the first player to score 3 points wins the game. Here we have the line. This is a play mat between the 2 players. And then you have 7 stones face up. Here, this is called the pool. You also have your little scoring tokens here. And then you randomly take a stone and place it in the middle of the line. On each player's turn, they take one of 6 actions to either manipulate the line or try to score points. When you have finished your chosen action, it is your opponent's turn to act. So the first action you can do is you can tell your opponent to place. You point to a stone in the pool, so I point to this, and then you tell your opponent to place it anywhere on the line. So they choose where to put it, and there it goes. The second action you can do on your turn is you can tell them to hide a stone. If you tell your opponent to hide a stone, you point to a face-up stone, they will flip it face down. It does not change position. Let's say we put a few more stones on here, just for example. Now, another action you can do on your turn is you can tell your opponent to swap 2 stones. Okay, so I'll tell them, hey, swap these 2. Then your opponent will swap their positions. Another action you can do is peeking. Without showing your opponent, look at the symbol on any face down stone. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna peek and look at this one. Aha, it's the hammer. However, if your opponent scored a point on their last turn, or your last turn, you may instead peek at 3 face down stones. Let's pretend we had 3 here. Then, if they scored a point last time, you can take a look at 3 of them. Now, in order to score points in this game, you have to challenge or boast. When a player scores their first point, they place their scoring token on their side of the track, like so. So one thing you can do is you can challenge your opponent, and you can say, hey, I challenge you to name this stone. Your opponent must then try to do so. Once they give their answer, you flip it face up. So I say, hey, can you name this stone? They go, I don't know, the sword. Nope, it's the hammer. So if they guess correctly, they score a point, but since they did not, you score a point. And then that stone remains face up. Another, and finally, you can boast. If you believe you can name all the face down stones on the line, you tell your opponent, I know all the hidden symbols. Your opponent then has 3 options. They can either say, I believe you, take a point. If they do, you take a point. If they say, I don't believe you, prove it. Then you must name and flip over each one. So I go, shield. That's right. Sword. Okay. Now, in that case, if you fail, you lose immediately. It doesn't matter how many points you have. If you manage to get them all right, you would win the game instantly. Now, what your opponent can also do, besides saying, I don't believe you, prove it, they can say, I don't care, I know them too. Then your opponent has stolen your boast, and now you have to either say, I believe you, or make them prove it. Regardless, if either player can complete a boast all the way, shield, what the fuck was this? A crown, sword? No, flag, sword. Let's say they got it right. They instantly win. Otherwise, if they get one wrong, they lose. So there's a risk there. And that's it. That is the game. Basically, you're swapping these stones around and seeing if you can challenge your opponent and mix them up to see if they can name them or not, and trying to score points or win it with a boast. And that's the game. So here's a game where I honestly think the presentation adds like several points to it, because the game itself is very simple. As far as looks, this is a very attractive package. Nice steel case. The discs are really good quality. It looks and feels really nice. And, that's no surprise from Riot Games. They put out Mechs vs. Minions, which is a gorgeous looking game. Also a very good game, but just in terms of presentation, it's pretty astonishing. But is the game worth all of that razzle-dazzle? That's where this is debatable for me. Don't get me wrong, I think the core game it's fun, I think testing your memory is always fun, and this is basically just mixing the chips around and seeing if you can fool your opponent while also making sure you keep them in your head in order. It is satisfying when you boast and manage to get all the face-down chips right, but the game feels just very low stakes. Because you can basically go for a game-ending victory or loss whenever you feel like it, the tension of the game doesn't build up. Something like Love Letter, for example, where it's like, oh man, if they get one more point, they win. There's always a tension there. But in this, it's like, I got a point, I'm just gonna go for a boast. I think I can get it, and you don't get it? Okay, too bad, let's just start over. Why bother trying to score points if you can just go for a boast? Like, you mess up, who cares? I don't know, it doesn't feel super... I don't ever feel super invested in this, because you can just start over immediately. The momentum never really builds up, and it never felt like anything was truly on the line. Now, if that boast choice wasn't there to potentially end the game instantly, then yeah, I think this could be a little more promising. I actually like the idea of being able to challenge a boast by saying I can do it too. Maybe it could be like, I don't know, 2 points? Or I don't know, but whatever. Like, instead of having it be a way to just end the game, I wish there was like a little more length to it, considering, you know how nice the package is. There is a fun element of like, oh, I can't boast too soon because my opponent can steal the boast. So, there's that too. But, regardless, even if you get challenged with the boast, no matter what, the game's gonna end immediately one way or another. And I personally don't think there's enough meat on this game to justify the cost. Now, I know this, I think anyway, this is like a game in Runeterra's universe. I don't play the game, so I'm not familiar. Now, as a collector's item, this is pretty cool. Like, if I was like a fan of the games and like, I think this is in the, I mean, I'm probably wrong, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is in the game itself, then this is neat. Like, I think it's very cool to own. I think they put a lot of effort into making sure it looks and feels nice because of the quality of the components, but as a board game, for those who are not familiar with the property, all I can say is it's a pretty good memory game. It's fun to play, but that's about it. It's not something. If this had much cheaper components, I would have been pretty underwhelmed. So I cannot pretend that this is a way better game than it is. It's a simple game with really nice components.